You are watching Hockey in the Fort podcast. Now, with tonight's podcast, we've got Nick, Ed, and Don. Take it away, boys.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hockey in the Fort. We're going to keep trying to bring these to you as much as we can with all the bullshit that's going on in the world today. Obviously, Don's not here. He came down with a fever, and I told his ass to stay home. So we are joined today by Komet goaltender Nick Boucher, who we all remember from the big runs back in the CHL and UHL, IHL day. We'll get talking with him shortly. We have a bunch more shows lined up. We're going to do one next weekend with Brad McMillan. That was one that all you guys wanted. Jamie Shaftsma, Matt Curado, a bunch of other guys. So we'll keep advertising when we're going to do them, and then as long as you guys enjoy. So, Nick, you still there?
Yeah, still here. Thanks.
Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll do, go ahead and tell us how you started in hockey and how you decided to be a goalie. I know I played, and it takes a special person to do it. And then we'll go all the way through your days, and then we'll get into some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, geez, I guess for me, when I was a little guy, I guess it was during the Edmonton Oilers heyday. So that was during that run when they had the dynasty in the 80s, and they won something like 5 cups in 7 years or something like that, and all the Hall of Fame players they had, Grant Pure, it was their goalie, and I just took a liking to him, and that was back in the day, I guess, when kids would go outside and play street hockey, especially if you grew up in Canada. And, I became pretty fascinated with the equipment. And, just from there, that kind of just grew, and finally got my folks, talked to my parents into put me with the hockey. Probably was about, I don't know, maybe about 6 years old. And, I had never skated, so, you have to learn how to skate, so you just fall, obviously, and, you don't get put in the goal right away, you gotta learn how to play a little bit.
Sure.
And even then, the first year or two, they're gonna rotate through it, you're not gonna have at least when I was growing up, you didn't specialize in a position, you played all the positions, and, you play maybe goal twice a year or something like that, And then after a few years, they'd allow you to start, playing goalie half the time. And then ultimately, if you stuck with it, you'd be a full-time goalie. So, that's kind of how I got started, playing street hockey, watching the Oilers, watching Grant Pure, just loving the goalie equipment back in the day. And back then, it was all like leather, brown, it looks like a baseball glove, all the brown leather equipment. And, that's kind of how I got started with it.
Okay. So we're having a little connection issue. Excuse me. A little phone staticky. I think we got it fixed, though. So you went and played juniors in the BC League first, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Cowichan Valley. The town I grew up and lived in for most of my life was Shawnigan Lake. And we had 7, 8, 9 arenas within about a 40-minute drive of my house. Even then, it was tough to get ice time. But I played through Cherry Park minor hockey, and then I might have been about 12 or 13 years old. But they didn't have enough goalies for the travel team. And I got called, and they asked if I wanted to try out for one of the travel teams. We call them rep teams because they represent. They pull the best players out of a certain area, and they'll be just like travel teams, and we call them rep teams back in Canada. And played rep hockey through Cowichan Valley. That was kind of like the main club, and then ultimately they have a junior team, and transitioned through their minor league system into junior hockey with Cowichan Valley Capital.
Okay. Now, what was it like? I'm used to the OHL and stuff like that. What was the BC League like back then?
High-level hockey, obviously. They have what we call the Western League.
Yep.
So, you have the tier one, the major junior guys that want to go right to pro. I was a little bit of a late bloomer, so didn't get a lot of like attention, I guess, through youth hockey. And then ultimately, I just said, I never had dreams of really playing pro hockey. I wanted to get a scholarship to go to school. So, given that fact, you got to play tier two hockey. In the United States, it's going to be, the USHL, the North American League, stuff like that. So you can go on the US college hockey because Canadian major junior, by playing, you sacrifice your college eligibility in the NCAA. So you automatically, for every game, like if you play one game in major junior in Canada, you lose an entire year of eligibility in the NCAA. Right. And then if you play 30 games, you lose a year plus 30 games in the next college season. So that's pretty much 2 years.
Right.
So, you got to make it pretty, you got to make it as a 15, 16, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, what you want to do. And it's a huge choice at that age, obviously, if you want to try to go right to pro or if you want to try to go to college. And I guess college is the safer route, for a lot of guys. Because, if you don't make it to the NHL, then you're for it.
Right.
So you don't have a college education necessarily. So yeah, the hockey's high level. Pretty much the BC Junior League is regarded as the top tier two league in Canada. On a consistent basis, if you look at draft picks coming out of tier two in Canada, BC Junior League's probably going to have the most. And from there, went on to college.
And you didn't go to just any college. You went to a big Ivy League school, right?
Yeah, and I guess I kind of left one little aspect out. It was partway through my second year juniors. I think I was 17 or 18 years old where I actually got traded from my hometown team, Cowichan Valley. Things weren't really working out. They were struggling. I was struggling a little bit, and they tried to trade me inside the BC Junior League, and they couldn't come up with any deals. They had a few things from interest, but ultimately no one really wanted me. And ended up getting traded out to Fort Saskatchewan in the Alberta League, which is another very good Tier 2 league in Canada. And played just outside of Edmonton in Fort Saskatchewan, which for me, being an Oiler fan was awesome. Got to see a lot of Oiler games. And ended up, it was my second year, and I was 18 years old. It was my first year as a starter, and I don't think I was on the radar of too many colleges. And what ended up happening, like any sport, these college teams, they have some unexpected things happen, whether it's a goalie getting hurt or leaving to the pros. All of a sudden, they're scrambling to fill a spot, and it's late in the recruiting season. If you're in playoffs, you've already got all your recruited players for that following fall. The incoming kids coming into college, right? They're already recruited. We can get it. And there was Denver, Alaska, Anchorage, and Dartmouth had lost the goalie. And those are the three teams that I was, considering. And ultimately, my folks kind of told me, "Hey, you're going to Dartmouth." Like, are you crazy? When you're weighing it, like the academic side of things, like Denver, Alaska, Anchorage, and Dartmouth, obviously it doesn't compare, And for me, ultimately, that wasn't so much the focus. It was the hockey aspect, and they needed a starting goal. The guy that they had kind of relied upon was diabetic and was just not health-wise going to be able to play anymore. They had a senior who had just never been the guy. He had played sparingly the previous 3 years, and it was going to be his last year. Didn't really show the ability to carry the load. And then they had a kid from the Saskatchewan League His name's Rob Bellow, and he was highly recruited, but had just been an enormous bust for them as a freshman. So they kind of said, hey, I mean, there's going to be opportunity to play here as a freshman. So that was, for me, ultimately like the deciding factor. You know, it was beyond the academic thing. It was a chance to play as a freshman, which, you know, just like football, college football, any college sports, you come in as a freshman, you're probably not going to see a bunch of time.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I came into Dartmouth, and we played Harvard the first night. And, I mean...
No pressure, no pressure.
Boston. Yeah, and we're in Boston playing Harvard, and the seniors started, and didn't last half the game. They put in college, you can draft 3 goalies, right? So we all draft, all 3 goalies draft. The senior starts, gets lit up, gets yanked. The sophomore goes in and blows his knee out.
This is meant to happen.
Yeah, and I didn't play that night because the sophomore just kind of, you know, he stayed in the game even though he shouldn't have, you know, maybe a little bit of stubbornness on his end. But the next night we're at Brown, and, you know, coach went with me, and I also, I nearly had posted a shutout in my first game, and I think I scored like less than 2 minutes left in the game, you know. And that was kind of all she wrote. I carried the ball the rest of the year. Got drafted that summer.
Now, who was it that drafted you that summer?
The Penguins. The true Penguins drafted me. And geez, I want to say there was a Penguin scout based out of Boston, and there were a few other Boston guys in our conference that had been picked by the Penguins. So there was some inside of our college conference, some Penguin draft picks, and they're going out to watch their guys, obviously. And you know, anytime you're going out and watching some of your own draft picks, you're going to obviously see other players, and that's how that all came about. And yeah, I mean, it was a terrific kind of taste into you know, college hockey, and I remember the first couple of games just being intimidated on how big and the college players were compared to juniors.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at every level you kind of go up, you know, there's going to be a transition. Yeah, I played 4 years at Dartmouth as a starter, and got really lucky just with the timing, you know. And I think anyone that's successful, you have to have, you know, a lot of circumstances that kind of, you know, go your way, whether it's timing or injuries or just staying healthy or what have you. And I think, you know, ultimately I didn't end up making the NHL or anything like that, but you know, in my career, I definitely had some, you know, circumstances that were, you know, went in my favor, even coming to Fort Wayne.
Right. Larry, you got some?
Yeah, I was thinking, now when you got drafted by the Penguins, did that immediately change your thought process of trying to continue on through college and get your education, or did you kind of waver and think, man,
Yeah.
I don't know if I should just jump and go to pro after this?
Absolutely. So, you know, I think after that first college season was when I probably first started to realize that I had potential. You know, in the season that I had, you know, on an average to below average team that we had that first year at Dartmouth, we were rebuilding, and you know, I think we opened a lot of eyes. And, myself included, started to realize for myself personally that, you know, there was potentially something that, you know, I could go on to do after college as far as and being drafted. I realized, you know, there'd be an opportunity with the Penguins at least to get a look, you know, go to training camp and do a lot. So, yeah, it was definitely an eye-opener, and it gave me a lot of confidence, you know, in that, you know, my abilities, you know, I think even for myself, it was just a shot in the arm, and that realization that, you know, I was, you know, after into the start of my last junior year where I was really struggling and was kind of down in the dumps. And you go a year later, you're starting for a college hockey team, and 18 months later, you're drafted. Wow. From going from a position where nobody wanted you in the BC Junior League, pretty much, to being an NHL draft pick within the span of 18 months.
Change of scenery did you good, yeah.
Yeah, and that was probably it. I was playing in my hometown, which is tough. It's when you're a hometown guy and it's a hockey town, like any town in Canada is, you're in a fishbowl, and not unlike Fort Wayne. And it can be difficult. I mean, it's great when things are going well, but when things are not going well and you're struggling, it's difficult to function and not really get down on yourself. So I think getting out of my hometown was just a massive change of scenery for me. That really kind of got me away from my comfort zone into a new environment that really helped.
Well, at the time, you didn't know that your coach up there in Dartmouth was a former Comet goalie either.
Yeah, actually. My head coach, and I didn't know this at the time while I was there, but I knew my head coach, his name was Bob Gunnett, had a brief. He was a very highly touted college player coming out of Dartmouth. They had went to the Final Four 2 straight times in the early 80s, right around when the Miracle on Ice was happening. Dartmouth was one of the powerhouses in college hockey, and he was their go-to guy. I can't remember who he signed with. I want to say it might have been Winnipeg or something like that.
Yeah, he was with Winnipeg. Yep.
Yeah, and then blew his knee out, within like a couple of games. And it's funny, Bobby Phillips is one of my closest friends. And he's still in town here, and Big Bob, his dad, actually was Bob Gaudett's roommate. So it's kind of, you got that 6 degrees of separation where, my college coach was roommates with arguably my best friend, Bobby Phillips. And,
and it all ties into Fort Wayne, yeah.
It all ties into Fort Wayne. Bob and his wife actually got engaged in Fort Wayne because his wife flew out to see him in Fort Wayne, and he was hurt, so he wasn't playing. And when he took her to the airport, he actually asked her to marry him, and it was not very long after that he hung him up. He only played a handful of pro games before he just shut it down with his health. So
yeah, he was here and got traded to Flint. Yeah, yep. I saw Gaudette play. I saw Big Bob play. Big Bob was a legend for a few nights here playing for the Komets, so that's a completely. We need to get him on to have him have his side of the story.
Yeah, he's a treat for sure. He'll have some good stories.
So you went from Dartmouth and played obviously in Wheeling for a little while, and then you had a little run in Wilkes-Barre too, right?
Yeah. So my first pro camp was Marc-Andre Fleury's first pro camp as well. So you can imagine the tension, the whole buzz around training camp was, he being the first overall pick and all that went along with that. Lemieux was still playing. He was in training camp. I was actually on his training camp team, which was a thrill. Martin Straka, Darius Kasparaitis, they still have some good players.
Just a few.
And that's kind of the start of the resurgence for the Penguins. I think the next year they drafted Malkin, and I think the year after that was the year they got Crosby. But yeah, from training camp, they sent me down to Wilkes-Barre, and then Wilkes-Barre sent me down, obviously down to Wheeling to start the year in Wheeling for their UCHL team. I'm trying to think who was in Wilkes-Barre. It was Andy Chiodo and Martin Boucher. And Boucher was just like a 30-something-year-old vet who was kind of there to bring along the young guys. So it was pretty much between me and Andy Chiodo for who was going to end up in Wilkes-Barre. And I had a good camp, and he had an outstanding camp. He was arguably, I remember, probably the best goalie in camp. They ended up putting him in Wilkes-Barre, and obviously Fleury, you can keep a guy up, a junior age kid up for, I think, 8 or 9 games or something like that before you either have to keep him in the show or send him back to junior.
Right.
And they kept him for the maximum amount of games before sending him back to Halifax in the QMJHL in the Canadian League. And it was pretty rough for the first, I want to say a month, because those 8 or 9 games, what was happening is Pittsburgh was carrying 3 goalies. It was Fleury, Jean-Sebastien Caron, and J.F. Aubin. And what they were doing is, they'd carry those 3 goalies, and it was a trickle down, because they'd send one of those guys down. Fleury would stay up, but they would send either Caron or J.F. Aubin down to Wilkes-Barre. And then the 2 goalies in Wilkes-Barre, guess what happened there? They bumped the guy down to Wheeling. And the expectation is whoever gets sent down, they're supposed to play. So I would practice all week there, and then I'd, be sitting in the press box because, we had just gotten someone down from Wilkes-Barre. And, the other goalie that was there was just an ECHL contract. He was a veteran guy, and they didn't want to piss him off. So I was kind of the odd guy out, even though once all that stuff sorted out before he got sent back to junior, I was the one that was playing all the time. So,
right.
It's just, the inner workings of how all the system works. It's tough to break in, and it's definitely a meat factory. There's no question.
So we'll skip ahead. I know you played the PD Pride, Elmira, Muskegon, and went up on a loan to Bridgeport once. After that, I see that you went to the EIHL and the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. What was all that like over there, playing in Australia too, I guess?
Yeah, it was terrific. So after the Muskegon season, unfortunately, I probably should have went overseas a year earlier after the PD season, because they just look at the ECHL as a better league than some of the other leagues. They're just a better reputation.
Right.
But went over to the English league, and just a bad fit. I mean, it's kind of the haves and the have-nots in the English league, much like the IHL was there when we were there with the 7 teams that we had. We were obviously like the New York Yankees in a sense, and then you had Smith and teams that Port Huron and Flint. Even though Port Huron had good teams, and even Flint did a couple times. If you had to choose where you want to play, it's not going to be those places. You're going to want to go to Fort Wayne. Facilities, support, all that stuff. And it's the same in the English league, where you've got teams in like Belfast and Newcastle, big buildings, good fan bases. And then you got these other places, like Basingstoke, which was just this dingy old arena. We didn't have hot water in the showers most of the time. The ice was terrible. We were on a shoestring budget, So it didn't last long. We had some success early, and then kind of just tanked, and I started struggling, and I knew the writing was on the wall. And either I was going to be out of a job or I needed to move. So rather than let that happen and kind of be left in the lurch, I found a new place to play. And Tilburg had been trying to get me to go there all year, or all summer. And, at that point, beggars couldn't really be choosers. There weren't a lot of places looking for a goalie that early in the season in Europe. And, secondly, my numbers weren't great. So, I wasn't really in a position of a lot of leverage, I guess. But I did know that Tilburg, there was a Cornell kid that I didn't know personally, but he was at Cornell, and we shared the same agent. So he put me in touch with, his name was Jeff Burgoyne. And I talked to him just on, what it was like in Tilburg. And he said, listen, this is a first-class franchise. We have the most money in the league, so on and so forth. So, again, very similar to, I guess, Fort Wayne. So I just decided before I got let go that I was going to, get out of that situation. My folks had actually been there while I made the move, and, I relied on them for a lot of advice, especially my dad. And I do remember when he showed up there, he just kind of looked at me and was like, what did you get yourself into? Just sort of like seeing the operation, it wasn't run very professional. So yeah, I got out of there and to Tilburg, which is just, again, just an awesome place to play. And, we actually won the league that year and wanted to go back. My wife at the time, and we wanted to go back for a second year. But they did have a young kid that they were kind of grooming, and they ended up bringing him into my shoes and just ran with 2 Dutch goalies the next year, which ultimately lasted about a third of the season before they had to bring an imported. So, obviously import players are expensive, as opposed to native players that are from the country. But, I would have loved to have gone back there. Europe's, especially when you're playing hockey there, it's terrific. You're basically on a vacation.
Yeah. So after Europe, I know you came here, and were you pretty recruited when coming here? Or did you know somebody that played here? Like, what was the?
Well, funny you ask that, because during the off season after playing in Europe, we probably, myself through my agent and stuff, we probably worked for most of the summer trying to find a good fit in Europe. And just, whether it was not enough money or just didn't seem like it was a good fit, never ended up, being able to come to terms with any teams. And, like I said, ultimately we wanted to go back to Tilburg, and they kind of jerked us around for a while to begin with. So by the time, we finally realized that, they were kind of sitting on the fence on what they were going to do, a lot of the other spots in Europe for import goalies were already filled. So that we really suffered because of that. But then, turned our attention to finding a good spot to kind of get my career back on track stateside. So, talked to Corpus Christi, almost went there. She almost went back to the UCHL, and Augusta actually had a contract, but backed out of it. And then Mac, he was a fighter for Edmonton. He coached in Wichita. I can't remember his last name, but the guys just call him Macker. But anyway, he was a coach down in Memphis. McClellan.
Colin?
Yep.
It was, he was coaching there in Memphis, in the CHL, the Central League. And it was the River Kings.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were technically Memphis River Kings. I think it was like, it was just outside of Memphis.
It was the Mississippi River Kings, I think.
Mississippi, yep.
Yep, because they went to the Southern Pro.
Yeah. So went there, signed there, and Larry Sterling was the other goalie.
Oh, so many memories with him.
And he needed a goalie because he had signed Sebastian Santomo, which he had in St. John when he was assistant coach in the AHL. Santomo was there through the Maple Leaf system. And Santomo had actually found himself a better contract in the ECHL, so Backer had let him out of his Central League contract to go there. So it was me and Sterling through camp. I was the new guy. He actually, wasn't super friendly to me because I think he knew I was there to compete, time or, but, that was not a great fit either. It was a very cliquish team. And a lot of the returning guys kind of all ran together, and I almost, viewed myself as an outcast outsider because none of the guys were super, welcoming to new guys, especially Larry was their guy,
Right.
And, played, we went down to Florida, played exhibition games against Everblades, and it went okay. And then I saw the waiver wire after the weekend. Santomo got released out of his ECHL contract. I think it was Fresno. And I told my wife at the time, I'm like, hey, pack your shit. because
We're done.
this guy that had already been signed here, he just got released, and guess what? We're going to be the odd guy out. And sure enough, come Monday after the weekend, I get the infamous call. They, we had a day off, and I got a call to come in because the coach wanted to see me. So, I mean, at that point, writing's on the wall.
Yep.
So, he said they're letting me go, and it was funny. And just to backtrack, all summer I had also been talking to Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And they ultimately ended up signing Kevin Ryder. And the other goalie they signed, I can't remember his name, he tore his rotator cuff playing summer hockey just before training camp. So all of a sudden they went from having their two guys to, we got to find another goalie. And if you know the Komets, they always like having two goalies that can play. Not one guy with a backup who can't, isn't worth anything. They like having two number one guys, basically. So, Ryder had already been signed. The other guy had been signed, but all of a sudden they're in training camp, and they had a couple of fill-in goalies who really didn't have pro experience or anything like that. All of a sudden I'm available, and we have been talking all year, and the timing again. We go back to that whole timing thing. Timing just kind of happened to work out, and talked to David, and they're like, "Yep, come on up." And we drove up from Memphis, Mississippi to Fort Wayne, and that was it. I think I showed up. I'm going to say it was 2 weeks into the season because the home opener had happened, and I think we were into the second week. And Mitch Woods had just shown up. I think I watched
changed
one
things.
game from the stands. Yeah, I had watched from one game from the stands, and that was Mitch's Woodsy's first game. I think he scored a goal and probably had a fight or two. And then it was me and Kevin Ryder that first year.
The amazing thing is you lost 2 games in regulation that year. A lot of people forget that you were 24-2-4 that season.
Yeah, and get this, one of those losses was Ryder.
Oh, really? So it got credited the wrong way, eh?
No, well, it got credited technically the right way.
It was like a split game. Okay.
Yeah, he started the game and didn't go too good. And then I went in, and ultimately we lost the game, and the game winner was scored on me, so it took the decision.
Jeez.
Oh, that sucks.
One goal, and you get the loss.
Yeah. So that season I only lost one game in regulation that year.
Wow.
So we had an outstanding team.
So the other guy's name was Corey Wogtek, is what it says.
Well, he
on
came up.
EP.
He was a guy that was like an emergency goalie. I think it may have been Dan McWhinney that was here the season before, and I think we were going to bring him back, and he got hurt.
No, it was, oh man, he's on the tip of my tongue, but it's not McWhinney and it's not Wachtek either. He was a Central League goalie who had a pretty good Central League resume. I just can't remember his darn name. I actually was in a couple of goalie camps with him in the summer. Sean DeGagne.
Okay.
That's right.
I forgot about him.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, he signed, but he obviously never played. He never played hockey after that, after he blew his shoulder out.
Wow.
Damn.
So, yeah. Kevin and I, formed, super, super good friendship. I was in his wedding. And it's one of those things, you're competing with someone, but you're also real supportive when you have, a good relationship with the other guy.
Right.
And, we had a really, really good mix of players that year. And we did for several years after that. And it was mostly because we kept a core together. I almost think of it like the Patriots are, or were.
Yeah. Yeah, they lost their core now.
You have, there's a kind of environment and a culture around the team. And we had it for a stretch there. Where it was Chalker was there, I was there, Druin, Huckalo, Birdie. We had a culture where, if you were going to play here, you were going to fall in line with how we did things.
Yeah.
It was like old school AHL, yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't, you were gone. Like, if you were a guy that was partying, like, we were fine with going out and having a good time. But if you were an idiot and you're late for practices and you're, not doing the right thing, or you weren't, it was impacting your play, or if you just didn't buy into how we were doing things on the ice, it wasn't going to end well for you. And I think that kind of was a big reason why we had a stretch where we were always pretty competitive, and we played, for the most part, very similarly, for a good stretch of years, because it was just about winning. Guys would score less goals. We're a little bit less worried about individual stuff, and everyone just kind of pulled in the same direction.
So one question that Don had for you while you were here, who was someone that you absolutely hated to see skating in on you, like on a breakaway situation?
So just so I'm getting the question right, one guy that I hated having like shoot or come in on me or play against?
Yep. Who did you hate just seeing coming in on you? Like, oh no.
Johnny Boris was pretty tough. He was so fast. Like, a lot of times, even Leo, before Leo came onto our team, we obviously played against him.
Right.
And Leo was real tough to play against because he would catch teams sleeping, and he was so fast. And even goalies, like, I remember he would come in and have breakaways on me. He scored on me a few times, where it happened so fast, he didn't have time enough to kind of gap up and get out and challenge and then back in, And because of that, he'd come in so fast. He was tough. Johnny Boris, same thing, real quick. Oh, man. So, there were some guys that could really shoot the puck, like Boucher could shoot the puck pretty good.
Yeah.
But, I had played with those guys. I played briefly, like half a season or so with Muskegon. Well, not that long, but I got traded from Elmira to Muskegon at the trade deadline one year for the playoff run. And so I had a pretty good book on those guys, and what they like to do. Robinson, Bouchard, some of the other skilled players they had. I had practiced with them for, several months, so I kind of had a pretty good idea what they like to do. Trying to think who else, like in Flint or somewhere, was really tough to play against.
What about
that NHLer who was...
What about Ben Boudreau? Did he ever score on you?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't. I remember Ben being on the team. I don't remember like anything, that he did outstanding. Like, he wasn't. I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he was like their top scorer. He would chip in here and there. I don't think he ever scored on me, but they had their. I'm trying to think who their top guys were back then. I know
Shazzy was on that team, I think.
Yep.
Who was?
Jamie Shasman was on that team with Ben too, I think, back in
Jamie
10.
He was solid. He's always been solid. Actually, Jamie and I played against each other in the Netherlands. So he was on Amsterdam.
Yep.
He played in Amsterdam, and we obviously a great place to play. But Tilburg, we were always kind of neck and neck with them all year. And they were tough because, we were the team with all the money, and they didn't really have all that, but they were super competitive. And I remember Jamie playing against them, and he was tough in that league. And then obviously he came to Flint, and I don't know if you knew who I was. I remembered him from the Dutch league. I don't know if you remember me from the Dutch league, but obviously, over the years, he's probably realized things because every time I see him, he's obviously, he's always playing high and stuff. But,
right.
Jamie was a good player for them. Port Huron had a few good ones.
Jeff Zaire was one probably, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Jeff Zaire.
Yeah, he was a thorn in the side.
Yeah.
He was their guy in front of the net on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was always bumping me, hacking and whacking, trying to get in my face, trying to distract me. Again, just wasn't a pure goal scorer. So, from a pure goal scoring standpoint, I'm just trying to remember guys that really gave me difficulty. Todd Robinson, he always seemed to have points. I don't remember him scoring a bunch of goals on me. Honestly, Todd didn't have a very good shot.
He was a garbage goal guy, yeah.
Yeah, he would set guys up. That was kind of his main thing. He was always passing the puck to someone who could shoot. Those would probably be some of the names, that folks would remember from that era.
So we're just going to go ahead and say that Ben did not score on you and leave it at that.
He had one goal in one season, so I don't think he scored on you.
So,
yeah, he was kind of a shutdown guy, two-way player. So.
Yeah.
I remember him, but yeah.
So we all kind of know that you had a little bit of a temper back in the day when you played. I remember a few instances. Who was just the other guy, the guy on the other side that you couldn't? Who was your least favorite guy to play against, and the guy that just got under your skin the easiest?
Probably guys like Bill Zalba and Muskegon.
I remember him.
Zaire, Port Huron would always be in my face. Marty Majors, I hated that guy in Port Huron. He was a backup goalie because he wasn't playing, right? Sterling was playing, and he took it upon himself to be the guy to try to, just run his mouth in warm-ups and you'd skate by him on the red line and he'd jab you with a stick and, stuff like that, just trying to get you kind of a little rattled. Who did it in the Wichita series? They had a couple guys that were super, super annoying who would do the same thing. Like I'd be skating in warm-ups and I'd get hit with a puck in the back. So
and they had the Twin Towers, those big guys.
Yeah, I think it might have been the backup goalie as well. Like they would just wait for me to turn my back, and I'd get hit with a puck. Wow. In the back or in the back of the leg or something. And they're just trying to, rattle you. So a lot of stuff like that. Stuff during the play. Is given, right? It's going to happen, but
right.
The stuff during the warm ups and stuff like that. That's stuff that I always hated, and it would irritate the shit out of me. I just. You can't let it on, that it's bothering you.
Right.
Because then you're just kind of putting gas on the fire and they know that it's working. So you just got to do your best to ignore it. But, yeah, I hated that stuff. And it always seems to be the backup goalie. Like if I was playing, it'd be the, opposing goalie from the other side that they're shooting pucks at you or he's running their mouth. And, that was probably the stuff that bothered me the most as opposed to stuff during the play.
I'll say there was a few times I remember. There was one in Kalamazoo, went to a shootout, and you and the other goalie, it was when they would clean the ice before the shootout started. And I remember you guys were mouthing to each other pretty good, and we kind of thought we were going to see something. But
yeah, I'm trying to think who that was. It wasn't Joel Martin.
No, it was the guy right before Marty.
I want to say it might have been. Oh man, I remember his name. Again, it's on the tip of my tongue. He was. I actually think it was a Jason Tapp.
It might have been.
I thought he might have. I think Tapp might have played in KZoo. He did, and he and I had a history going back all the way to the BC Junior League. We were in the BCJ at the same time. And he was playing in Nanaimo, and I was playing in Couch, and separated by about an hour. And we used to get into it back then. So that kind of always, and I want to say he went to Rensselaer. He went to RPI, I think. And I think that's where he went to college. And yeah, he didn't have a great college career, and I always kind of chuckled at that because he was a highly recruited, junior player, and
sure.
His college career was a bust. But yeah, Jason Tapp was was a guy that he and I always kind of were jawing at each other. It's funny, Sterling and I had a great relationship after we played together there.
Yeah.
We always had a sense of like professional like courtesy, maybe a level of like some respect for each other. So he and I never, kind of got into it on stuff. It was always the guys he was playing with, like his backups.
Okay.
But within goalies, there's supposed to be like a level of professional courtesy,
Yeah.
Because it's such a specialized position, and you're part of the goalies union. That's kind of what we call it, And I give a guy, a professional courtesy, and you're not supposed to be shooting pucks at him in warm up or tapping at him, all that stuff. It's kind of frowned upon in the goalie union, and that's kind of probably the reason I took issue with those guys doing that stuff.
So what about who was that, Bloomington with the line brawl?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, that was Marty Major.
that
That was
one-
Marty Majors again coming down to fight you, I believe.
Oh, that was Wichita.
Was that? You're right. That was Wichita. Yeah, I
thinking
actually
of
just saw it a few
yeah.
weeks ago.
I'm thinking of the Superman punch night,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
Yeah, so he would shoot pucks at me. Who I also hated was the backup from Port Huron that was in Wichita and got hurt. He was a French guy. What was his name? Russo. Adam Russo.
Oh, Adam Russo.
I forgot about
Yeah.
Adam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a shit talker.
Russo would run his mouth in the papers about Fort Wayne and Port Huron, like, oh, well, they should win every year, yada, yada, yada. Or, I was overrated, or the only reason they win is because the defense is so good, it has nothing to do with goaltending. And then here they are every time, like, we outplay them, out goaltend them. Wichita, like, he was running his mouth, and, he played like crap the first game, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously came up with an injury. And even the other Wichita players that some of our guys knew said, yeah, he's faking it. He just, he played so bad, that was kind of the word, the kind of the scuttlebutt was he kind of just pulled the shoot, which I don't know whether that's true or not, but he and I never really saw eye to eye, and I had no love lost for that guy. Of all, he's probably the one guy, and I don't know why I immediately didn't come to mind, but he was one guy I hated.
So,
But yeah.
with the Bloomington night there, we've heard it from the other guys. What was running through your head when you were skating down the ice that night before you infamously Superman punched that kid?
Yeah. Well, so I think that story deserves a little bit of a lead-in and a backstory on it, because he'd been playing, I can't remember the guy as he did it. I think it was Talon was his last name, the defenseman.
Yeah.
We had Chris Auger head injury, Brett Smith head injury, Colin Schock head injury, and I think he got Smith twice. I think he did it a second time. So he had knocked our guys out with shots to the head. And I think after the last one, which was Chalker, we had been kind of challenged by, Simmer, the ownership on, hey, this can't happen anymore. We can't have this guy running around doing this, and not, you would never step up and kind of pay the piper,
Yeah.
And in hockey, if you're doing something borderline, you got to know there's going to be consequences. And at least, you're going to have to drop the gloves, and at least, even if you win the fight, you got to step up for it, and he wouldn't.
Yeah, you got to answer the bell.
So that morning skate, we had kind of been challenged a little bit, and it started as soon as the puck dropped, a minute in the game, the guy was on the ice. I think it was Brian Hawley went after him, and shockingly, he turtled. And, the goalie jumped in, which is fine, I guess, in a sense. But the problem I have with it is he stayed in there. He stayed in the mix the whole time,
Right.
So if you jump in there, and you got to get out of that stuff if you're not expecting, the other goalie to come down. And I kind of waited, and he stayed in there. And then, I guess just kind of reacted, obviously. In hindsight, probably, didn't do the right thing. I should have probably grabbed him and made it a little bit more entertaining. He was a pretty small guy. I'm sure I would have whacked him, but
I don't know, man. It was pretty entertaining.
It's legendary, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, just kind of came in, and when I came into the pile, like he was right there, right in the thick of it, and I saw an opening and just kind of leapt up with like and even the video doesn't really do it justice because it was a pretty solid haymaker, and I still remember the noise of my fist hitting his cheek and his nose, and it was like the sound of if you spank somebody. It's like that super like high pitched like flesh on flesh,
slapping a ham,
and that was just like the sound of like his face. And I remember he went down and he was just screaming. So, and that was it. It was over that quick, and I found out later he had a broken nose. I saw him on the bench, like in video, and he had like those tampons stuck up in his nose. He was bleeding and stuff. And I mean, we put the team out. I know, it seemed like we were like shorthanded 5-on-3 for like the entire period, and we ended up losing the game. Even though like we almost came back, I remember. I mean, I think Boucher scored a shorthander. So we stuck in there, but we had just dug ourselves a hole so much. Again, that year, we had such a good team, and I that was probably one of my best pro seasons. Made the All-Star game, and I felt like I should have been. I was pretty much led in every statistical category. I think the guy that ended up winning goalie of the year played half the games I did. He played like 32 games, and I played like 50 something. And I was just shocked that they could give that award to a guy that was pretty much played every other game, But I think the big reason is because of what I did.
Right.
A lot of those are voted on by media and the like GMs of the team, and obviously I don't think they. I remember the backlash after that, like just like that was dirty, I was gutless, all that stuff, and I didn't disagree with it, but I think ultimately that cost me, like, I had set up that year that was one of my goals. I wanted to, win goalie of the year, and I felt if I had done that, I would probably, the team would do well. If I had put up a good year like that, the team was going to be in great shape.
Right.
And be a contender. So it was kind of like, I know that if I in the running for that we're going to have a good year. And it was disappointing when that didn't happen, but I think a lot of it had to do with that. Got the 4-game suspension.
Right.
I can't remember who they brought in, because Jerry Festa was already there, and he'd played. He kind of picked up the slack when I was out. I can't remember if they brought someone in or what the story was. If we just used an emergency for a few games, but that was another year where we just had a really, really, really good mix of guys.
So we were under the impression you and Leo were pretty close back when you guys played together, and him being the quiet guy he is. Give us some good Leo stories.
Oh man. I'm trying to think of some stuff. It's been so long, but
he's listening. By the
way, what's that?
He's listening. I see his name pop up on the comments here.
Is he? Oh, okay. Well, I want to say it was. We had 1 year. I think it was our second year in the IHL. We had Mark Versteed Litland. He was here. Bobby Phillips was his rookie year.
Okay.
Who else would hang out? We had a good. Like, there was probably 5 or 6 guys. Liddy, Leo, Bobby. They were pretty much the guys that would probably be out the most. Out at Hooters. Hooters at the time was right by the rink. They would just go to lunch at Hooters all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And then obviously Showgirls was right there too. So, for single young guys, they were in like pretty much paradise, I guess you could say.
They enjoyed the area.
I was with Leo. He was weird. between Bobby and Leo, we definitely ran together a lot. And Leo, I guess maybe I shouldn't say this. I think probably the funniest Leo story was when he got picked up one night, and he showed up to the bus. When you go on road trips, you have tracksuits, you have your travel sweats, right?
Yeah.
And Leo didn't have time to go home that night, so he showed up to the bus in his suit from the night before. So obviously, the guy he's kicking out of it, and he showed up to the bus late, and he's in a suit, right? So we obviously, knew that he probably, ended up with someone that night, or didn't make it home, and didn't have time to come back and come back to his apartment and get his travel sweats for the road trip the next day. So other stories, I'm trying to think of some stuff. And we definitely, Pierre's was popular back then. Obviously, it totally went downhill since. But we go to Pierre's, Hooters, Tilted Kilt. Just we had a good kind of nucleus of guys out that I had just went through a divorce, so I was kind of didn't have any
enjoying
to
yourself.
really answer to. Yeah, I mean, you go through something like that. There's other single guys, and I was probably the older of that kind of group of guys. Liddy was always a treat. I think Brian Boucher, I want to say he was in kind of that group too. That might have been the year after. I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, we had a really good, solid group of guys, and I definitely miss Brad McMillan. I mean, Macker was around, so he obviously was married at the time, so he was out a bunch. But I'm sorry, I don't have anything that's immediately just popping into mind except for that bus trip. And, you have to ask Leo what the story was behind that. But I just remember him. I don't recall exactly what the story was, but just showing up the next day when he was on because he didn't have time to run home to get his travel sweats. And I'm sure it was embarrassing for him, and we had to hold the bus and all that stuff too.
Here's one that should bring an interesting story. About your Disney on Ice.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to tell you. We're not allowed to tell you who gave us the information, but
yeah, that's fine. I mean, at this point, I'm okay talking about that. So, we were leaving for Bloomington. It was still in the IHL. We're leaving for Bloomington. It was my first year in Fort Wayne, actually, and as you know, when Disney on Ice comes every year to the Coliseum, we try to get Exile.
right.
And during that, week for 10 days or whatever it is, we're not playing any home games there. We're not even practicing there. We're going over to Canland, or at the time it was McMillan. So, we're just going to the rink to get our equipment, and that's it. So we're leaving from the road to go to Bloomington, and we're there. Everyone's loading up their bags and stuff. And for some reason, PC had taken a shower. He drew. I don't know why, but because he was, getting dressed or whatever. And one of the guys, I think it was Luciano Aquino, had kind of said, "Hey, PC, you won't go out on the ice right now for $100, and you're naked with your jockstrap on." And PC, being like kind of bashful like he is, he wouldn't do it. And then guys kept adding me to the pot, and it got up to like $400. So, when I came to Fort Wayne, the season had already started, and there wasn't a lot of room under the salary cap. So my salary the first year was not very good. So, I found, I thought here's a way where I could make a quick $400. So I just rose my hand, and I'm like, I'll do it. So I went and grabbed my goalie cup, my skates, and I went to Joe Franke's. I went to the equipment room, which is where Joe is now, obviously, because, as you know, on Disney on Ice, they take the boards out.
Yeah.
So all I did was I went, geared down, put my cup on, put my skates on, and from Joe's office, you had, access straight onto the ice. and they were out there doing their like rehearsals. So they were all doing like whatever it is they're doing, like skating around at all of the places and the thing. You know, there's probably 15, 20 usually on ice skaters out there. And I come bursting out of Joe's room, which I guess at that time was a phone. Brett Mueller, I can't remember his first name, but anyway, I came bursting out of there, jumped on the ice, and just like cop, and started doing like toe touches and leg raises and squats and lunges and all kinds of stuff on up and down the ice in the middle of this rehearsal. And I think it was Haji recorded it on his flip phone. So, back in that era, obviously the phone video was so bad and grainy, but there is actually video evidence of that. And I've seen it a couple times, but it's so grainy. But all the guys were there watching. Even the coach was there, Simmer was there. I think even Mike or Dave might have even been there, and everyone thought it was hilarious. Obviously. The Disney on Ice people that were there thought it was hilarious, but don't think anything of it. By the time we are loaded on the bus, Shannon Hansen, who was I can't remember the first name of the defenseman. Hansen was his last name. He played with us.
Kevin Hansen.
Kevin's wife, who worked for the Coliseum selling their luxury boxes. And by the time we're on the bus, was already blowing up Kevin's phone, asking him which one of your knucklehead teammates was the one on the ice naked during Disney on Ice, because the Coliseum had closed. They had closed circuit, whatever. They had
the camera
video of it, but it was all the way from the rafters, so they couldn't make out who it was. So they were trying to figure out who it was. They were calling the Coliseum. At that point, Disney on Ice didn't have unbeknownst to us, we go to the Bloomington game, we play the game. I'm loading up after the game, and David pulls me aside and says, "Hey, I got to talk to you. Disney on Ice is threatening to press charges." Yeah.
Wow.
So they went from having the people that were there for having a sense of humor. It was just an innocent little prank, to they didn't think it was funny anymore, and they wanted to press charges for whatever else. I don't know what they would have pressed charges for, but something, I guess. Because I guess some of those skaters were, they had insurance policies on them. So the idea is if I bumped into somebody and they got injured, that it would stop the show and it would be this whole mess.
Wow.
So they were pissed. And David, I think the Fort Wayne police had called them. I don't know, Disney on Ice. I don't know, the Coliseum, whoever else. So all of a sudden we're in hot water about it, and they were demanding an apology letter. So that's not a big deal. It's okay, fine, we'll write up an apology letter. And Dave's just write up an apology letter. We'll take, it'll go away. And we get back to Fort Wayne, and I'm going in to load up to drop my gear off in the dressing room, and there is not a red coat, but one of the security guards for the Coliseum is all there puffing his chest out, and he's asking every guy in there, "Are you Nick Boucher? Are you Nick Boucher?" Finally, I go up, and he's like, "You can't come in. You're barred from the Coliseum." So for the next week or 10 days or whatever, however long Disney on Ice was there, I was not allowed in the Coliseum.
Wow.
Which was okay, because it meant I didn't have to go and pick up my bag or, whatever.
Somebody had to carry your gear out. That's great.
Yeah, so it all worked out. And then I went to the Coliseum, or I went to the Comet office to sign my, initially they said I had to type up and come up with a letter of explanation. But later, the Komets just ended up typing it up for me, and I just showed up there and signed it. So they sent that off, and all was good. All went away, I guess, except for the legend, I guess.
I've been holding on to that story for 10 years, Nick. I knew about it the day it happened. Not many people knew that outside of the immediate organization.
Yeah. And the other thing, a lot of the guys tried to weasel out of paying me.
Oh, after that, jeez.
Yeah, Aquino, who started the whole thing, like I had to twist his arm to pay me. He's like, "Well, I was just kidding. I'm not going to," So.
And like, no,
you know,
you're gonna pay.
No, I collected. I collected all the money that was owed, but some of the guys definitely tried to weasel out of it because I think they knew Druin wasn't going to do it, but when someone else did it, yeah. I mean, I think they had second thoughts, but at that point, too bad.
Yeah, it's just something I can't see PC doing. He's so quiet.
Yeah.
Leave it to the goalie to do something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I wasn't making a lot that year, so every dollar.
Oh yeah,
that was another week too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That was a week's pay. I think I was making $400 or $450 that year, and I had signed in Memphis for I think it was $1,000 a week.
Nice.
So that's how dramatic of a you go from making like that to all of a sudden you're one of the lowest paid guys on the team, and there just wasn't cap space. I came in when the season was already started and they didn't have a ton of salary cap space to just, hey, we're going to give you $800. They didn't have the dollars in the cap to do that. So I kind of had to take I was in no position to be picky at that point. We were a week into the season, the regular season. No teams were, unless they had an injury, no teams were looking for goalies because even if the goalie had a terrible first week, they were going to give him a couple weeks, before they moved to someone else. So, I mean, it hadn't come to that yet, and there were no teams looking for guys except Fort Wayne. It was just purely because of an injury. So, kind of, like I said, got, very, very lucky with the timing, and things kind of just fell together. We had a really good team and won, and then, we kept winning. We just kept winning. So, great timing on my end.
So,
I think a lot of really.
So this anonymous person gave us something else here, and apparently you played against your old man in January, and he fared pretty well against you.
Yeah. So went home. We had a late Christmas this year because my wife wasn't able to get time off during Christmas. We went in January, and my old man, he's 73 now. He plays goalie as well, and every time I get equipment, I would send him my old equipment. And Fort Wayne was very good to me. They would get me 2 sets of gear every year, so I would use it for half a year, and I would send him the stuff. And he was always like the best outfitted beer league goalie out there. He always had the latest, greatest equipment, custom made everything, and we're relatively the same height and stuff, so everything fit him.
Sure.
Anyway. So, obviously I haven't put any equipment on in probably 2 years, and, we're coming in January, and he asked, if I, would want to play, cause he plays like 3-4 days a week. So he plays a ton of hockey with a whole bunch of different beer leagues. So, asked if I wanted to suit up and play against him in his beer leagues. He's like, I can get you at least 2 games, maybe 3. So all I needed is to, he has 2 sets of gear there, my old stuff and a couple of sets of my old stuff. So I just bought a few things that I needed, like, my skates, some under gear, a cup, personal stuff like that,
Yeah.
And, played against him and actually lost the first game against him. So, and it wasn't really, I don't know. I mean, listen, I haven't played in a while. It is like riding a bike, but I was hurting a little bit, with the hips and stuff. And he also stacked the team against us.
Well, of course.
You got these old guys, and if the team is stacked, I mean, the team that's the weaker team, I mean, they have, the play is up there under the ice the whole time, and these guys were just gassed by about halfway through. So, yeah, he won the first game, and then the second game we played, we only played 2. The teams were even, and he blew them out. was fun. It was fun. My old man enjoyed it. It's been a long time since we did that. I think just the last time we did that was just before I went to Dartmouth, so 1998.
Wow.
Probably
20 plus years.
So it's been a long time, and you know, my mom came, my wife came, I had some friends, my brother and his wife, like they all showed up to watch this, and it was fun. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then my dad got a thrill out of it.
So not a lot of interest in playing beer league around here?
No, none. As you guys know, I mean, had a lot of hip problems. I think it's pretty common for goalies. It's like elbows for pitchers in baseball now.
Hips and knees, man.
And it's an epidemic for goalies, you know. And if you're playing long enough, you're going to have a lot of wear and tear on your hips. And I'm just right now, honestly, like I would maybe have interest playing beer league as a player, but not as a goalie, just because I want to be able to, you know, continue to do what I like doing. Like I like to golf a lot, and you know, anything that I know is going to end up putting, you know, more wear and tear on already destroyed joints. It's just gonna, you know, expedite the need for me to get hip replacements, which is, you know, on the horizon anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
You know, if I can get into my 50s, that would be a huge win before I have to do one of those. So I'm trying to be smart. We'll play once in a while, charity games or whatever, but for the most part, you know, being a butterfly goalie is not what the hip is meant to do, you know, and all the goalies play that style now, really.
Yeah.
And we've seen just so many goalies, you know, Corey Schneider, you know, I would say probably half the goalies in the NHL have had hip procedures, you know, if not more.
Even Fleury had one, 2 years ago? I think Fleury had one.
Yeah. Fleury, yeah, it's just a laundry list of guys. So, you know, the Columbus goalie, I know he's in Florida now,
Bob
Bobrovsky.
Yep.
He had them. So, I mean, you can continue to play, but at some level, I mean, I could have continued to play after my surgery, but I'm not making millions of dollars here, and it's just, you know, coming off a season that we did, you know, when we won the Central League, where, you know, what more did I have to really, like, gain by continuing to play? You know, it was time. My last year was one of my best, so I think I could have continued to play, but, you know, when is when, you know, you gotta at some point, you know when to say when, and I think that was it, you know, going out on a high note. And when I got the first surgery, which was in July, I knew I was going to miss about half a year. The intention was to come back. But honestly, I mean, that year, the first year in the ECHL, the team was getting beat up. I mean, they were losing tons of games. And it's like, you know, even if I could, like, I really want to put myself into that situation where I'm just getting shelled every night. You know, they even had Jeff Laurier when he came down from Anaheim. This guy played in the NHL.
Yep.
And was a very good goalie, and I mean, had some good games at the start, but ultimately that starts to wear on you when you're getting shelled every night, and he started struggling too. So it was just not a real good situation that year, and I just that kind of, you know, after I did the first tip, it's like, well, while we're at it, you might as well do your left one. Now that we already did your right one, so let's just go ahead and do that one. So that kind of wrote off the entire season at that point. I think that was in about late October, November. Yeah.
Well, somebody else asked, sounds like Nick has played in quite a few places. What was it about Fort Wayne that made you decide to settle down and have your family here?
I think I heard what you said. Obviously, I played for my fair share of places. What was the first part of that? I know I caught the second part. What made you stay here? So what was that little question?
It was just sounds like Nick has played at quite a few places. What was it about Fort Wayne that made him decide to settle?
Oh, okay. Well, I had played against Fort Wayne. You know, I knew the history and everything that was involved with Fort Wayne, and it was a good hockey town. That said, I think it does take you a couple seasons to really appreciate it.
Yeah.
My first year or two here, I think after maybe the second year, you start to realize, like, you're seeing all the, the Eddie Longs, all the old, once in a while they would parade those guys through the locker room before a game, like before a big game, like the home opener or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really cool to kind of see all those guys and just you start to realize the history and the culture and the legacy that Fort Wayne hockey does have. So ultimately, when my playing days were over, I had been kind of lucky in a sense because the Froggies had an apartment at Island Club on year-round advertising trade. Huh. So they had two of them, actually. And I was lucky to get into one of those when I first came here. And what it meant is, most of the times their apartments after the season's over, they're giving that back to the complex, right?
Right.
Well, the two at Island Club, they were on year-round trade. So once the players moved out in the summer, they would just sit empty, right? No one would live there. So rather than me going home to D.C., to British Columbia, and having to find a job and an apartment or live with parent, whatever, it was perfect. I would stay here year-round.
Sure.
I got set up with a little job, just for spending money. I could play all the golf I wanted, and I had all my expenses paid for. Like, it was a free apartment because they weren't paying a lease on it. It was free.
Yeah.
So, kind of got lucky from the start where that apartment, I stayed in it all the way my entire career here.
Oh, geez, 5 years you were there?
Hey, man.
I stayed in that apartment.
That's
so
where
I never moved out.
That's where we're sitting at right now, is in an apartment at Island Club. So
nice. Yeah, so I was lucky where, like, because I was here year round, I started meeting people. I started making friends outside of the hockey team. Golf buddies at the golf course. All of a sudden, I got a circle of friends here, and one of them was a friend of mine that I played with at Coyote Creek. His name is Larry Dickey. He was a loan officer at Ruoff. And when I was, looking for something to do, I briefly did medical sales, like selling screws and plates and things like that. But I switched over to Ruoff, and Larry was pretty good friends with the CEO and the owner, Mark Music. And Mark, I played with Mark a few times, and they took a chance on me because I didn't have any background in mortgages. And I think he's like, well, like, he's got a good name, and he's smart, obviously, going to a good school. So they took a chance. And, once you're, as a hockey player, you're nomadic, right? You're going someplace every year, usually, as a minor leaguer. It's pretty rare that guys stick around for, more than a handful of years. And me being able to stay in one place for so long, I started to kind of, the comment was Nick's played in a lot of places. Yeah, I was going one or two new places every year. So British Columbia wasn't home anymore. It's where I grew up, but it wasn't home. And Fort Wayne started to feel like home because I had been here and stayed here for that 6-7 year duration. Sure. And once the Ruoff thing kind of came in, I'm like, this could really be something good for me, and it has been. And I have those circle of friends that I continue to be friends with now. So it all just kind of came together.
So, what's your favorite golf track in the city?
So I play out of Pine Valley. So we have Ruoff's got a corporate membership out of Pine Valley. And I was lucky enough to weasel my way out to that corporate. So there's 5 of us out there. So I play out there. I do like Pine Valley, but I think I like playing at Sycamore in Fort Wayne. I don't get to play out there very often. Our CEO does have a membership with Sycamore, so I do get out there a couple of times a year. Fort Wayne, not very often. I also like the one southwest there. I was a member there.
Chestnut?
No, not Chestnut. It's the private one. What's it? It's in Waynedale.
Down
on that.
Brookwood?
No.
The one out by the airport.
Yeah. That's Brookwood. It's on the ass end of the Oh, man,
There's that's
Orchard.
Brookwood.
Is it Orchard? Orchard Ridge.
Orchard Ridge is the private
Orchard
one.
Ridge.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a
Orchard
beautiful
Ridge,
place.
Yeah.
This guy keeps making me drool over golf
so
courses.
I was briefly a member there between Coyote and Pine Valley. I was there a year. They had a membership special, which was like super, super cheap. And me and a bunch of guys from Coyote went over there for a year. And then, of course, they jacked the rate up on it. So then we all left. So, I mean, the smart thing would have been is to kind of taper it up slowly, you know. But, you know, ripping the Band-Aid off like that on guys, you know, everyone went back to Coyote, and then I got on the corporate at Pine Valley. But I really love playing those courses. They suit me pretty good. You know, Riverbend's tough.
Those
That's
damn
a tough
greens,
track.
man.
The greens are always tough. Yeah, the greens are always tough there. I love just playing. I'll play anywhere. I mean, I'll go out and I'll play at like Canterbury, you know, or work on like short
Hey,
game
man,
stuff.
good
because
iron
the course is
practice.
So short. So, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play at a lot of you know, places outside of the Midwest and British Columbia. You know, I haven't been to Europe. I know the guys will go to golf trips in Europe and stuff, and I've not been able to do any of that stuff. But
Nova Scotia. Got to go to Nova
yeah,
Scotia.
Fort Wayne. I would think I would probably say Fort Wayne Country Club, maybe Sycamore.
Okay.
Obviously, vastly different courses. Fort Wayne's a pretty traditional course, kind of old school, and then you got Sycamore, where it's a typical Jack Nicklaus course. Very long and tough and undulating greens.
I got to play Sycamore last year for the first time, and it kicked the shit out of me. It's a lot longer than expected.
So it's a good golf course, obviously, and they can set that place up real tough.
Yeah, they did. I didn't shoot very good that day.
I grew up on Pine Valley. We used to actually have a house on the 5th hole. So, yeah, for about 8 years, I think I lived there.
I still haven't played Pine Valley, but I hear somebody I know now that has a membership out there.
So I saw one of you guys is a bourbon drinker, right?
Yeah, that'd be me.
Multiple of
That'd be
us.
you. Nice.
Yeah. So
yeah, my wife has gotten me into that.
Oh, good.
I saw
when we have our hockey in a Fort Bourbon night again, we'll have to have you up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit me up on that, and I'll be happy. I'm pretty stocked up right now for the apocalypse, and eventually, hopefully that hasn't dwindled too much by that point. But yeah,
now we're playing another one. It'll be good.
Very good to me. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, we won't hold you too much longer. It's been a lot longer than anticipated, which is great. But we'll let you get back to the family. So we appreciate the hell out of it.
Guys.
What's that?
Yeah, it's my pleasure, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
We'll do it again. We'll have a couple of the other boys from back then. I know PC's in town, and we'll do a group show here maybe this summer sometime once we can get together.
Definitely have to have you.
Bobby's in town. Leo. I mean, maybe get some of those guys together. I mean, I'm sure it'll be good for some laughs. Maybe even have Mac or call in on something like that. McMillan.
We got Mac next week. He's going to call us from Fairbanks. He was like, I got some great stories, and we're going to set some new swearing records on your show.
Yeah. But Brad was a resident prankster. So he would, I'll let him tell all the stories, but he was his whipping boy when he was here, and we all loved it. We all got a good kick out of it. I don't think he loved it so much, but
Mr. Quiet.
Brad was our team prankster, and always good for some laughs. And anytime I think most fighters, they're always good team guys. They're always well liked. And Brad was no exception to that. He was very well liked. We all loved him, and it was sad when he left. I think we all wanted him to stay, and I'm sure he can tell the story on what all transpired with that. So we'll leave that story to him.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you out telling some more stories at our Komets alumni party.
Yeah, we do that every year now too.
Yeah,
so.
no, I remember you guys did that out at Rudy's, didn't you?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, we're changing the location this year, make it more family friendly, but we're still planning on having a bunch of you guys out and have some bunch of stories.
Yeah. I'll make it a point to make it out there. I remember that one. I was not in town on that one. It was during was it in the fall or late summer?
Like right in between. Late. So we do it in August every year. So this year I think it's August 15th.
August
is the
15th.
date that we're gonna have.
Unless we have to push that back.
It better not have to push that shit back.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be in Utah until about the 4th, but August 15th will work fine. So just make sure you get an invite out to me.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
whatever, and I'll make it a point to come out for you guys.
That'd be awesome, man. We appreciate it. So
yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, man. Well, we'll let you go. Stay safe. Wash your hands, I guess, is what everybody keeps telling us to do. So I'll be calling you once I'm ready to get out of Island Club. I'll need a mortgage. So
sounds good. All righty. Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, buddy. We'll
Thank
talk
you,
to you.
Nick. Take care.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. So that was Nick Boucher. Like we've just said a few minutes ago again, we have several more shows lined up, including Brad McMillan soon. Sometime either late next week or next weekend. We have to be kind of careful because he's 4 hours behind us up there in Alaska. So that will be a show you don't want to miss. I mean, he literally told us we were going to set new records, so maybe not for little ears on that one.
We'll put out a warning,
parental advisory for that show
for language.
So we got.
We're trying to get a bunch of these old guys that are still in town on. I know we've been talking with Fletcher, which I know that's going to be huge for everybody.
Yeah, we got Steve. He wants to kind of wait until this virus stuff dies down a little bit, but we got Steve Fletcher confirmed. We got Matthew Curado, for you guys that remember him.
Yep.
Which I just talked to him earlier today. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I saw he popped up, was watching a little bit.
Yeah, we got Shaftsma's going to do it.
Yep.
Shit, man, we got a bunch of them. Them.
Yeah, we're going to do one here with Benny and Legs.
Shrocky and Frank. We're going to do all the coaches in town together.
That
will be a recorded show, so we'll put that on our YouTube page.
Yep.
And we'll put the link on Facebook so you guys can find it. Because we're going to do that in a different location. Hopefully, if we can fucking go anywhere.
Oh, man.
Enjoy your weekend because, you never know. We might be locked down next week. So drink enough beer to settle up for that.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. So
Liquor stores are changing hours. Make sure, cap and cork, get your cap and cork, and throw in a plug there for them. Since I'm not working right now, I might as well throw that in for them.
So if you see any of the guys around town, make sure you go up and say hi to them. I know they're all kind of stressed out. There's a couple of them left in town yet.
Oh, they're hating this as much as we are.
So if you go to the store and you see anybody, go up, say hi, and including us. If you see Larry or anybody around,
well, they won't see me. I'm hitting it home.
Don't be shy. Yeah, I'm stocked. I'm stocked up.
As soon as I leave here, I'm going back home. Yeah, that's about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I go to work. I go home.
No karaoke, no hockey for me. I'm being a hermit for a while. So
if you guys want to play anything NHL 20. We have that. We're working on something fun with that here. As soon as we're allowed to not be hermits, we're going to do an NHL 20 tournament where some of you guys can possibly face off against some of your favorite players.
Yeah, we're working on getting the specifics together. We'll get that out when we figure it all out.
Yep. So there's a lot of shit coming down the road. You'll see a bunch of us. That was me.
Yeah.
So... but yeah, if you guys have any more suggestions on shows, obviously we're working on a bunch. Even Bobby Phillips is another one.
Got to get Bob. Got to get Bob with Bobby. You got to get Big Bob with Bobby because Bob's the one that has the stories from the infamous, the Lieberman incident in 1981, 82, I believe it was.
Right.
I was sitting right behind the visitors' penalty box the night that this all transpired. Where there's if you go look up Bob Phillips and Flint Generals, and he got in a fight, got his eyes gouged in a fight, and proceeded to follow the guy into the penalty box head first. He dove into the penalty box after the guy, and they were fighting in the visitors' penalty box. It's a huge story. I won't share much more than that, but people that were around then will remember that was an amazing night in Comet history and lore.
You have to catch me up on air. That was about 8 years before I was born.
Yeah. So when I knew Bobby was coming to, and the funny thing is, after Bob retired, he became a Keebler salesman. So this guy was a big time fighter. Ended up selling Keebler cookies.
That's perfect. Beat the shit out of people, and then
go work for the elves.
Go sell some cookies. So, if you guys have any more suggestions of people to get on, let us know. We'll do our best. Somebody else. Who was the other one I told? Dave Norris.
Oh, Dave Norris. Yeah, Dave Norris has got some great stories.
Bobby Stewart and Danny again.
Well, not Danny. Not Danny. Jeez, not Danny.
But, man, there's a bunch. Mac.
Yeah.
Jeff Worlton. I got a hold of
Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh, yeah, Worley. Nice. Okay.
I'm working on Beauregard.
Yeah, DAB would be good, yeah.
So there's a bunch that we're working on of the older guys, mainly so we can beef up our alumni party.
Right.
So Leo again, he talked about wanting to jump back on again with some of the other guys. So
he would be a good one to have on with Mac, but I know Mac's got enough stories he could go probably 3 hours himself.
Yeah, but Leo's invited if he wants.
Yeah,
we tried to get Leo on here with Boucher, and he was busy.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so many of those guys that, like I said, when they played here for 2-3 years together, they've got, that's something that doesn't happen in hockey anymore, where you're one and done. I mean, you're flipping around. So all the stuff that happened in the early and mid teens, that stuff's not going to happen anymore. You're not going to have all those guys getting
no.
And the thing is, once now these guys, the salary cap, you can't have these guys every single year. So that's why you got to let guys go, and even with the teams of the 8s and 9s and 10s, we still had 6 or 7 different guys that popped in and found their way into the rotation and became part of the nucleus of that team but they had to go through the whole, indoctrination and become part of the team first to be, really part of the Komets.
Yeah, and remembering back to our alumni party last year, you talked to Lee for Chen, and they're pretty quiet guys, but you got both of them up on the stage together, talking, bouncing back and forth between each other,
and
they had hilarious. The stories rolling.
Oh yeah.
So for you guys that didn't come out to the alumni party this year, because we're going to start plugging it now, because we don't have anything better to do.
Yeah.
It's basically a party where you show up. We have great food from Full Circle there, and then
one of our sponsors, Full Circle Barbecue.
We make Larry interview the guys that he didn't know he was going to do.
Yeah,
and did amazing, even though he was still halfway sick.
I was more sick last year than most people are this year. I was sick for about 4 months last year, and I had no voice, and still made it through.
But all the questions come from you guys, so you get to ask all the questions of these old timers, and
they may ask a question, and it turns into a 45-minute story about that.
Yeah, Robbie.
Yeah, that goes over about a decade.
Robbie and Norm went for a good long while. That was fun. Kaylee and Shraki and Legs went for a good while. So if you guys don't really know Legs very well, he's pretty quiet. Mm-hmm. And but man, once you get him smiling, you got to get him smiling, and it's game on.
Yeah.
So
you get a bunch of these guys who play together that really haven't gotten together a whole lot. Oh man, the stories start rolling.
Yeah,
it's a great time. You do not want to miss it.
So the other thing is we have T-shirts and hoodies. If you haven't got yours and you ordered them, let us know. We have them sitting right next to us. Yeah. Ed's wearing one. I'd ask him to model, but you don't want to see that.
You don't want to see that.
So
we're working on trying to get some toques for next year. We working on some ball caps, some other stuff that we think you'll be interested in. So
bunch of stuff.
If you have something specific that you're interested in, let us know, because you may think you're the only one, but we might have other people.
Yeah, we can get stuff.
Other times you may just be the only one. Who knows?
But yeah, so let us know if you need anything within reason. We're all broke. So
yeah.
I'm working on voiceover stuff, so if anybody needs stuff recorded.
Yeah.
I thought about actually doing, I may have to check with the legitimacy and the legality of doing like starting lineups for people. If you're missing the hockey season, hey, give me the names of people, do a starting lineup. I'll do it just like rapid fire, like the Comet game, send you an MP3 off and figure out a cost, anything to make a few bucks. Anything to make a few bucks, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
If you're interested in Larry doing some voice work for you, hit him up on his Facebook page, and if it's something where the legality of it may be in question, he'll find out and get back to you.
That's right. And once this all ends up, I've got people already asking for wedding receptions and parties is like karaoke, whatever. I've been DJing 30 plus years, karaoke 30 years. So, I'm ready to go. I'm sitting at home with a bunch of gear just going, okay. I'm tired of sitting at home with all this music and all this energy and nothing to do.
Yeah, I'm tired of sitting at home, period. I was supposed to go to New York this next week. And,
good luck on that.
That closed.
Yeah.
So
unless your name is, was it Snake Plissken? Isn't that to have to?
Yeah.
That's the only way you're getting into New York.
If anybody needs anything moved, I have really big trucks available and trailers and shit like that. So give us a call. Let us know.
Yep.
I'm a professional driver, so.
Be the Apocalypse.
So is Ed.
Apocalypse. We have an Apocalypse company. We have to come up with something.
Yeah.
Right. And we got it for your needs. If you need to travel somewhere, you need this or that. Hey, we'll put it all together, and we're not afraid to go out in public.
Yeah.
No, if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. That's all there is to it. I'm not healthy, but I'm not unhealthy, so I stand a better chance than a lot.
Yeah.
The other thing too to do is make sure that during all this stupid shit to make sure you support local, including all of our sponsors like Full Circle and Rudy's and Copper Canyon and Fan Cave. I don't know how much they're doing right now, but don't forget about those guys up there. Deadeye Dicks, go out and throw some axes, even though I don't know what they're doing.
They may be closed down too. Recreational places are getting closed. Bowling
alleys. That's the problem. Everybody's
they
closing
canceled
up
our
shop.
bowling league today. Of all things, I was like, shit, that's the one thing I had to look forward to. So
no more dirty balls.
Yeah, no more dirty, oily balls.
Yeah.
So
we're planning a tailgating party for the home opener again.
Yep.
Once the schedule comes out and
be.
all that, so we'll get the details out then. But
we got a bunch of stuff. We're going to try to keep everybody busy this summer, so we may try to throw a golf outing together, or we'll do something.
Putt tournament.
Putt tournament. We could do that.
Everybody, Don is the expert, so Don says he is the expert.
Bullshit.
Don also said being goalie was easy.
He also said he was good at NHL 20, and we found out the other night that didn't work.
Yeah, he what 0-3.
Yeah,
and he got scored by at least 4 goals each game.
What was my score?
And I never played.
Well, I want to know what was my score against him, like 11-2.
It was bad. So yeah, Don, challenges out there for putt this summer. I'll whoop that ass. I'm gonna go and call my buddy Nick Boucher too, and have him come out and putt against you.
There we go. I bet he's got to have that putt and touch.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah. So if you guys need anything, let us know. We'll be back again this week with somebody else. Probably going to be Matt Curdo or Jamie Shasma. I'm trying to set it up. I know he's actually still working, so we'll get some drinking.
And of course, we lose something, and Don's excuse is, "You fuckers cheated."
I don't know how you can cheat on.
You can't cheat on that. Yeah,
I mean, this isn't like the old school where you can put in the little left, right, AD.
Don, just because you had a wireless controller doesn't mean you were unplugged.
You were using 94 controls, and I was beating the shit out of you with a stick.
I was using 94 controls, and I still beat him.
That's true. First time Larry's ever played the game.
First time I played that one, yeah.
So, all right, everybody. We'll be back. We'll advertise here shortly with who we got next.
Yep.
So, everybody be safe. We'll talk to you.